This is Lord Thaddeus Cray, obviously. Now, what's this one going to be about? Well, I said I was going to start doing videos on mental health. And this one's important. It's very important, actually. Whether you have a neurological or a mental situation, I have both, one has to avoid too much mental overstimulation. It is a serious problem. And while it definitely has certain benefits at certain times, the mania is another name for it. One must learn to handle it. It's not just through medication. I mean, that's just the foundation. I have learned the hard way on this. What are the side effects for me when it comes to mental overstimulation? A couple of things. Insomnia is one. That's the most dangerous. Because when I don't sleep, I'm not sound of mind. That in itself is a very dangerous thing. Number one. That's the most dangerous side effect of mental overstimulation. I'm pacing, so bear with me on that. Sorry about the light. But what is another side effect of mental overstimulation? Well, one is agitation. That's the second biggest thing. Agitation for me. And that in itself, with many of us who have this problem, it can come to the third part. And this is potentially the most destructive. Anger, rage. Your mind is not shutting down. You know, people are all around you. You're forced to interact with people. And because of this, you are forced to confront things normally you would not have to. Where your defenses are down. And normally things don't seem to make a lot of a problem to you are now staring you right in the face. The things you normally could handle, you can't. Your mental defenses are now down. Therefore, you become angrier and angrier. And of course, what can this lead to? Situations of explosive anger, rage, like I said, violence. Yes, violence. That's the most, of course, obvious, dangerous situation right there. Violence. Whether it be against yourself, which I'm guilty of, or others. Again, I'm guilty of that. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't gotten too many physical confrontations for years, at least when it comes to knockout dragouts. Now, I've had some close calls, especially these last 2 years compared to 20. Leave it at that. It's crazy. Then, of course, this freaking pandemic has had everyone acting very stupid. Just going to leave it at that. So, what else is a symptom of mental overstimulation? Another one is anxiety. That right there is not the most dangerous. It's far from it. Because, being too angry all the time, it can get you killed or someone else. And, of course, doing life in prison without parole is kind of something I don't think anyone I would wish on, not even my worst enemy. And that's real talk. But anxiety, that uncontrollable fear that locks your guts and gets in you, gets in your mind, and it doesn't leave. And of course, that leads to, again, insomnia. It's literally a self-fulfilling cycle. Now, what causes mental overstimulation? Well, obviously, a neurological or chemical imbalance. Now, of course, that right there is just horrible stuff. What's the best way to manage it? Prayer is one. The most important thing, for God's sake. If you have medication, take it. Unfortunately, of course, if the side effects are dreadful, use common sense. Get off that shit. If it's worse than what can help you. But if you got something that works, use it. That's your foundation. That's just one. The other thing, of course, is not, I said prayer. That's truth. Keep close with God. That, believe me, I have horrible thoughts all the time running through my head. I get so mad with God. But I also tell him on a regular basis, I'm sorry, this is the dark thoughts. Guide me through them. And I know I will continue doing what I am here, what you have placed me here to do. that in itself walks me through it. So, I've said most of the problems. I've said a couple of the solutions. Of course, another thing is, for God's sake, network with people. Talk with someone close if you can. Now, some people can't, but I'm blessed enough to be around people who care about me. That's another thing. You have to keep a network of people. If not, you're fucked. Excuse my French. It's fact. If you can. Even people in prison, those of anybody in that kind of situation, even they have enough sense to network with people, communicate. Hey, this is what's going on, this is what's going on. Okay, we'll work together. You have to be able to network. Isolation, when it comes to mental overstimulation, is not a good thing. It's the worst thing you can do. Many times I tend to do that. I am like, okay, I don't want to harm people. I don't want to stress them out. So I think I tend to think I'm a burden. So I isolate. This mental overstimulation can also lead to despair. Now, you have to understand, I'm going to talk about the depression in another video. This is mainly the up. Of course, the crash is, like I said, that's for another one. Now, what are some benefits of mental overstimulation? There are some, actually. And that's one thing I've learned to actually work within the boundaries of. A little bit ain't going to hurt nothing. I drink a fair bit of caffeine sometimes. Other things to kind of get my mind working, flowing. But I know when to stop. I've learned to. But the fact is, when that happens, utilize the gifts you have. Take advantage of the excess energy. Work it out through your mind. Grind it out. I do it through writing, stories. You guys have heard them. My narrations, things like that. Work. You guys know what I do. I mean, it's just hands down. Use the talents you have, which God has given you, when you have that kind of stuff going on in your head. It'll actually help you, unless you hit an obsessive note, then you got to be careful. It'll help you grind it out. And you should be able to actually do quite well. I thought it'll be important to do stuff like this, because the fact is, people aren't aware, and it's about time they were. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm not going to put a normal note on this. I'm just going to leave it because it's serious. I'm going to start doing more things like this, as I've said. But for right now, that's pretty much what I'm leaving on mental overstimulation, and how to handle it, and what it's about. You guys be blessed and you be safe.